Coming up next on Arizona Horizon, the border crossing point at Lukeville reopens a month after it was closed due to an influx of migrants. Also tonight, Arizona Republic reporters talk about their investigation into a gang of well-to-do East Valley teenagers who allegedly are tied to a murder and other crimes. And we'll hear what education advocates want to see from lawmakers in the upcoming legislative session. Those stories and more next on Arizona Horizon.
This hour of local news is made possible by contributions from the Friends of PBS, members of your PBS station. Thank you.
Good evening and welcome to Arizona Horizon. I'm Ted Simons. The Lukeville Port of Entry reopened today after the border crossing was closed for a month due to an influx of migrants. Operations have also resumed at the Morley Pedestrian Port of Entry in Nogales. Today's move follows criticism from state leaders on both sides of the aisle, along with residents and business owners on both sides of the border. We will have much more on the reopenings in just a moment. On Capitol Hill, the House has a border bill that has no chance of passing the Senate, and the Senate is working on border legislation that has no chance of passing the House. But negotiations go on, according to Senator Kyrsten Sinema.
Our goal has been to find a practical solution to the crisis that changes the policies so that we can manage and control our border rather than allowing the cartels to control it, and to ensure that those who reasonably qualify for asylum have an opportunity to seek their opportunity to get asylum in our country. So we're just trying to be very practical and reasonable about it.
Other headlines: Maricopa County officials are looking into allegations of financial mismanagement by County School Superintendent Steve Watson. An independent audit will look at accusations that Watson, among other things, misreported funds and failed to submit required financial statements. Watson has denied any wrongdoing. And one more note: flight cancellations in the U.S. were as low as they've been since 2013. U.S. Transportation Department says that last year's cancellation rate was below 1.2% for just over 16 million flights. And between December 17th and New Year's Day, cancellation rate was below 1%. That compares with the full 8% rate during the same time the previous year. As we mentioned, the border crossing point at Lukeville reopened today. The port of entry was closed on December 4th due to an increase in migrants. The closure was roundly criticized, in great part because the Lukeville crossing provides direct access to the popular beach town of Puerto Penasco, also known as Rocky Point. And for more on all this, we welcome Rafael Carranza. He covers immigration issues at the Arizona Republic. Good to have you back. Thanks so much for joining us. Was this a surprise? We heard about it a couple of days ago here. Was it a surprise that it reopened now?
I don't think it's a surprise. I think this had been building for some time, and the pressure especially had been mounting on the Biden administration to sort of take action because people realize of the damage that this was causing, not just to border businesses and border communities, but also politically. You had members from both parties that were calling on him to take greater action given what's happening at the border.
Again, state and federal condemnation, as you mentioned, Democrats and Republicans. Sometimes that works, sometimes that doesn't. So you're thinking it may have played a part here?
I think it definitely played a part. The White House hasn't said whether that was the case. They had a call with reporters earlier this week where they announced that the border crossings, not just here in Arizona, but also one in California, a few in Texas, were going to be reopening. And it's hard to imagine that the pressure didn't play a role in that, only because it's such a big part of the trade and commerce, and the impact of these border communities is so huge that lawmakers representing these communities, were definitely echoing these calls to reopen these ports of entry. But it's unclear if how much of a role that played.
Yeah. What was the reasoning though for the reopening?
Well, I think that the reasoning for the closure was that they needed the help to redirect the people at these border crossings to help process migrants. Now, in the last few weeks, we have seen a small decrease in the number of people that are crossing, but that's just part of the ebbs and flows that happen along the border routinely. So there's definitely more resources that are being redirected down to the border. Some of them are on the way, some of them are already there, and I think that could have played a role, but certainly the pressure to not cause any more significant damage, particularly as we enter an election year, I think is very top of mind for the president.
Indeed. So it doesn't sound like things have appreciably changed, though, in the last month. Am I reading that correctly?
It ebbs and flows. I think just a few months ago, the same problems that we're seeing now in this part of Arizona, in the Lukeville area, were also happening in Yuma. And so a few months from now, that may be the case in Nogales or somewhere else along the Arizona border, but that's just kind of part of the cat and mouse game that U.S. border officials play with smugglers, they're very adept at figuring out where they could potentially take advantages of weaknesses along the U.S. enforcement to then funnel more people that way. But it's just kind of that game that it's kind of you're catching up to that.
Yeah.
As soon as you solve that, it emerges somewhere else.
Governor sends the National Guard, obviously with help, not necessarily guarding the border, but with ancillary help. Did that make any difference, do you think?
We don't have a lot of details yet about that deployment or whether there's a significant presence down there yet. We do know that there have been National Guard members down in other parts of the border that have been doing some of these duties. So we don't have a lot of details about the number of troops that have been sent down there. But I think Border Patrol will probably tell you that any assistance they can get would probably make a difference.
Yeah. Any idea if these National Guard troops, if that deployment will continue? Is that going to change now that the borders are reopened?
Well, I think the needs are definitely still there. I think the number of people crossing will continue, whether it's in elevated numbers or if it's like on a more manageable level, they'll continue. So I think that the need for assistance will continue there. And until the federal government does more to provide some more permanent assistance, I think that any additional help there would probably be welcomed by a lot of the border enforcement agencies.
Yeah, probably keep them down there. The border communities, as you mentioned, a big impact. How hard were these communities hit by this closure? Because judging from what I've read and from what I've heard, it cratered down there at Puerto Penasco.
Yeah, when I talk to business owners and a lot of the people living down there, they described it as a catastrophic impact. If you can imagine, this tends to be a lower season for visitors, but it is still a very popular destination, particularly during Christmas and New Year. And so if you didn't have even the U.S. consulate urging people not to travel to Rocky Point using alternate routes, that really just cratered, and all the number of visitors plummeted considerably. So a lot of the businesses there, a lot of the shops went without customers for weeks and weeks.
Yeah, I think your reporting also said that, yes, fewer visitors down there, but longer lasting visitors. People from Canada will come down and they will stay a longer while. That impacts business as well.
Absolutely. I think that the opening, couldn't have come at a better time for many of those communities because of this influx of winter visitors that will be passing through or staying in a lot of these communities. And because they stay for longer periods of time, they're spending more money there. They're having a greater economic impact in these communities. And it's a very big lifeline for a lot of these towns, especially in Rocky Point, prior to the spring break and warmer temperatures drawing even more visitors to the beaches.
Yeah. What about Arizona, like Ajo, which seems like it's in the middle of all of this as far as migrants are concerned and processing and travel and this sort? The economy of Ajo, how has this been affected?
It's the same way. Because you have this vital lifeline that has been shut down, a lot of the businesses there had to reduce their hours or close down completely. You had some of the travel stores there that are dependent on people stopping by for gas or snacks, whatnot. They saw a reduction of up to 90% of their business. So they're still trying to figure out, how to pay, keep the lights on or pay other utilities. And even though the road is still is open now, it's still kind of hard to say how many people will make that trek now. So it's not going to be an immediate impact. We expect that it'll be kind of gradual before things kind of get back to quote unquote normal.
Yeah. And when does it get back to normal? Because there's always that thought out there that this could happen again. And
we've seen that happen time and time again, not necessarily here in Lukeville, but we've seen it, for example, in some of the other crossings that have been closed in Texas, in Eagle Pass, in El Paso, in San Diego, where that's happened. It's been reopened, and then a few weeks later it shuts down again.
Last question, Rafael, and thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it. Did shutting down Lukeville accomplish anything?
At this point, it's kind of hard to say, only because, as I mentioned, smugglers are pretty adept, and I think that they'll find weaknesses along the border to seize on their profits, maximize the number of people that are crossing. So I think until we, a few weeks from now, we might have a better idea of kind of what happened there. But as of now, I expect that we'll see more migrants crossing through this area.
Rafael Carranza, again, Arizona Republic, great reporting. Good to have you here again. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Up next on Arizona Horizon, details on a group of teenagers terrorizing areas of the Southeast Valley.
Next time on Father Brown.
That child has the atomic bomb sickness.
When the town shuns a local teenager, she runs away.
Have you called the police?
But Father Brown suspects something more sinister is afoot.
What are you suggesting, Father?
And as the worst is feared,
Where is she?
he's desperate to uncover the truth.
This is no time for secrets, not while there's a chance she's alive.
Father Brown.
Saturday night at 7 on Arizona PBS.
often referred to in the history books in the past tense. But here we are in the present, and we're going full force.
Native women are strong and resilient.
My people in the Buffalo have a shared history.
She's a warrior.
It's about representing ourselves in the way we see ourselves.
We're scientists, we're engineers, we're doctors. We're doing things to make a difference in this world.
When you support Arizona PBS, you plant a seed. Seeds that provide educational outreach in our community. Seeds that put our digital resources to work. Seeds that foster the trusted news coverage you expect from PBS. And seeds that continue the amazing PBS programs you love. But our garden can't keep growing without your support. Visit our website to see all the ways you can help our garden grow. Plant a seed with Arizona PBS today.
A gang of teenagers known as the Gilbert Goons, allegedly tied to a murder and other crimes in the Southeast Valley. The crimes led to community outrage over the lack of arrests by law enforcement, all of which led to an investigation by the Arizona Republic. And we're joined now by Republic investigative reporter Robert Englund and criminal justice reporter Elena Santa Cruz. Good to have you both here. Thank you so much for joining. Robert, we'll start with you. What got you started in all this? Was it just the public outcry and trying to find out what the heck's going on?
Exactly what it was. There was a lot of misinformation, a lot of social media clamor and wild allegations about this group of teens. And so what I think we did more than anything was frame what the issue was. And quite quickly, we were able to determine that not only were these attacks going on where teenagers were attacking people randomly at malls, parks, fast food restaurants, but they were also possibly involved in the murder of Preston Lord, 16-year-old who was beaten at a Halloween party on October 28th and died 2 days later.
Yeah, Elena, the murder of Preston, that pretty much was a catalyst for all the outrage, I mean, that pretty much was a spark, was it not?
Absolutely. That's basically how we got into all of it, us looking into, we started out with looking into Preston's murder, and then it kind of hit pause for a couple weeks, and then Robert and I looked into these allegations online, and that's where we stumbled upon these Gilbert Goons, and then everything exploded from there.
Well, and sticking with you, is this what they call them? Do they call themselves the Gilbert Goons?
We've heard from community members that that is what they call them, and we've seen, I believe we've seen some social media posts of theirs where they've tagged with the hashtag Gilbert Goons or Gilbert Goonies, Gilbert G's. We've heard these various forms of these names, so that's certainly what the community is calling them, and that police have labeled them for now.
And Robert, again, these are mostly white, mostly upper middle class kids there in the Southeast Valley?
That's the group. They're loosely affiliated, different high schools, different communities. So you have to separate the Preston Lord attack and beating from the other attacks that we've uncovered. And then we went back and linked them. And in fact, one of the most chilling things that we discovered was just days after Preston Lord was murdered, one of the people we've identified in attack videos posted something on social media that was akin to a confession.
Yeah.
I hit a kid, he fell down, other people stomped him. I heard later he died IDK, which is tech speak for I don't know, which is just an amazing thing to put on social media. But this is a group of kids who are filming themselves beating other kids and posting it.
And Elena, why are they doing this? I mean, is it an initiation rite? Is it just to go out there and beat people up for the heck of it? What is going on here?
We've heard it's the latter. We had a police report that we went through, and one kid just said that he did it for fun. So most of the attacks are unprompted. There's been we had one case where there was some bullying that went on, and some goons went to the house of one victim, and then an attack happened, but it's mostly unprompted.
Where's law enforcement been with all this?
Law enforcement has said that they did see an increase of attacks, at least at this Gilbert In-N-Out, and that they increased patrols, but they said there were never case reports or reports filed with the name Gilbert Goons or anyone pointing a finger to that name since our investigation, and since they've been looking into this more deeply. The police have said that victims have since said that it was the Gilbert Goons, but we don't know. All we know is that now they're investigating cases at least back 2 years.
Yeah, and Robert, that from a distance, this is what seems so frustrating and confusing, frankly, about this. It sounds like lots of people out there know exactly who's involved with this. They know names, they know who these people are, they know the families. And from a distance, again, it sounds like some sort of cover-up is going on. Is that what you're finding?
Well, you don't have to be Lex Luthor to connect videos in people's faces and look at patterns that emerge at places where they attack, which were similar, the people involved, which are similar, and then say, well, why weren't these connected? You asked about the police. They appear to have been an absentee landlord in this situation, in that they had cases, people were reporting being beaten, and they would look into them, and in one case, they charged the same individual in 2 attacks that were part of a group. Both of them were part of group attacks. And they did nothing with other cases, shelved them, labeled them as inactive, and the attacks went on. It's worse than that, though, because in the aftermath of some of the people who have been involved in these Gilbert goons, members who have fallen out with them, girlfriends who've been part of the group, when those parents came forward and started talking about it, the goons retaliated. There was a campaign of harassment against individual members that again went back more than a year, and they reported it. Nothing happened.
Nothing happened. So where are I asked where law enforcement, where are the community leaders out there? Where are the mayors? Where are the representatives? Where is everybody? This makes no sense. Again, from a distance, this makes no sense.
Well, the police chief won't talk about it, and Elena called the mayor. And the mayor got mad that we called her on her cell phone.
You called? She offered nothing more than quit bothering me?
Well, she said she wondered why I was calling her. She questioned why I was calling her on her cell phone and pointed me to her office to receive a statement when I inquired about this. But 2 other members from the town council spoke with me on the record, of which I got their opinions. So not sure where we go from there.
Are these attacks still happening out there? Do we know?
We know of at least 1 attack that happened after Preston Lord's death.
From your investigation, from what you found, what you've seen, heard, and read, is a cover-up going on here?
It's certainly speculated, but we're just not there yet in terms of knowing all those specific details. It's certainly something we're looking into.
And Robert, you know full well what's being rumored out there, that prominent families are involved, and that's why we're not hearing names, and that's why we're not finding out more about a situation that has a bunch of folks out there terrified.
And they are, and it's real. And these kids are affluent. How much influence is being brought to bear, I can't tell you at this time, but we are continuing to look into it. No question.
Well, great job looking into it. Great reporting by both of you. It's, as I said, it's frustrating to read because it just seems so wrong. But it sounds like your investigation has put a little bit of heat under law enforcement. We appreciate that. Good to have you both here. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The legislature is set to get back to business next week at the state capitol, and with that in mind, this week we will be hearing what advocates for a variety of issues are looking for from lawmakers in the upcoming session. Now, we've heard from environmental leaders, we've heard from business leaders, and tonight we hear from the education community. Our guests, Marisol Garcia, president of the Arizona Education Association, and Chris Cotterman, director of governmental relations for the Arizona School Boards Association. Good to see you both again. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Marisol, we'll start with you. So what do you want to see come Monday?
We were really excited in December when the governor's teacher retention or educator retention policy came out, and really great ideas. This is clearly a priority, not just for voters, but for parents, educators across the state. So we're hoping some good policies come from that.
Yeah, what do you, Chris, any ideas, anything special? What do you want?
Well, I think that top of everybody's mind is Proposition 123, our favorite topic, going to expire at the end of the next fiscal year. So we have to start thinking about that. Of course, ESAs, everybody else's favorite Twitter subject, also a big deal because we have a budget shortfall.
Right.
So we have to deal with that.
So let's hit those up. Let's start with we're doing Prop 123, 123, call it what you will here. Take state land trust money. It's controversial, but this time Republicans say they want to use it, and they want to use it to pay teachers. Your thoughts?
I mean, I think it's great that we're talking about this. This is something that for years we've been saying this is an issue. So clearly now we want to talk about it. We want to make sure that it is extended to everyone in the school. So every educator that's there, my friend Liz, who works in the front office, office who has to deal with parents and sick calls and tracking down kids that are missing from class. She needs a raise as well. So we need to have a comprehensive conversation. We're excited to have it.
But are you willing to work along the lines? I mean, maybe the cafeteria worker doesn't get, maybe the bus driver doesn't get as much as you want, or anything at all, to get that $4,000 or whatever it is raise. I don't even know what it is for, just to get more money to teachers. Is it worth sending it off to the ballot?
Well, I think no matter what, it has to go to the ballot because it's state land trust money. So, and like Marisol said, the devil is really in the details, and I know that's cliche, but the Republican plan, they had a press conference, but we haven't seen the details of that plan. And so we can't start working on it until we know what the actual mechanics will be. And so we're certainly hopeful that will happen, and we'll have the opportunity to have some input and put the sausage through the grinder, as it is, meat through the grinder, and see what we can do.
Yeah, all right, sticking with you, Chris, ESAs. What do you want to see? What do you think you're going to see?
Well, I think the governor's plan that she outlined includes a lot of the things that we want to see. We've talked a lot about accountability and transparency because we have a problem where we are spending a substantial portion of state money that we believe should be going to public education on private, religious, homeschooling, things like that. And so if that's what the policy of the state of Arizona is going to be, okay, we don't agree, but that ship is sailed at this point, right? And so school districts are accountable for their outcomes, for their finances, for everything. And we haven't seen a relief on that side. And the refrain has been, oh, it's the parent's choice. The parent gets to make the decision. They know best. And I say that's fine, but either we put the same requirements on ESA students as we do on public schools, or we start saying, you know what, the parent does know best. Let's loosen some of those mandates.
And that is the response from Republican leaders, especially who ESA is almost untouchable. It's not about the schools, it's about money to parents.
I mean, the irony that these are the same folks who make it so that since I've been teaching in 2006, I'm held accountable for the first hour of my classroom more than any parent that has ESAs. And I'm just as responsible for the 32 kids that are in my social studies class. These are children. We need to make sure that they're safe, A, but also B, as a taxpayer, want to know what's going on with that money.
So what do you realistically expect on this issue?
I mean, I honestly hope that this year there's a discussion about the fact that our taxpayer money is going into a vacuum of unknown. And so we need to have a conversation about that. It seems like a pretty bipartisan thing to want. And yeah, it is the Arizona legislature. And quite frankly, it's an election year.
Yeah.
So we're going to just lean on parents that have over and over said, we want great, strong public schools to come down and work with us and put some pressure on these legislators.
Chris, the aggregate spending limit, which made for much drama last session before the cliff was avoided and going over the cliff there. But are we going to deal with this every year? What's going on with that?
We are going to deal with it every year, unfortunately, because we have a spending limit that is far below what the rate of increase in education spending has been. So as my friends on the Republican side of the aisle like to remind me, they've spent a ton of money on education lately. And it's true, they have increased expenditures dramatically over the last 3 or 4 years. That helped raise us even further. But we have a limit that's set so that no matter what, we have to override it every year because it's so far above and it's not going to come down. And so we're in the clear for this fiscal year because they did it at the same time they did the budget. And so our expectation now is that, hey, if you're going to appropriate a budget that's over the limit, thank you for doing that. But also make sure you guarantee we can spend that money by overriding the limit at the same time.
Is that a realistic expectation?
I mean, it should be. If they're going to go and knock on doors and tell people that they support public schools, they need to also be able to say, and we're going to let them use the money.
Yeah.
And so I think it's a realistic thing. I think that we're kind of done with having this football game every session and ready for a new one.
Yeah, $1.4 billion threatened. That adds up after a while.
Yeah.
Marisol, last question for you. We got a Democratic governor again. We got a Republican legislature again. One vote majority, both places. How does that work into your wants?
I mean, I think the reality is that it's a very Arizona landscape. Like most of my neighbors are all different parties, but some of these issues should not be partisan. We're part of the same community. We're taxpayers. We want to make sure that we feel safe in our homes and our kids feel safe in schools and they have quality people in them. This shouldn't be a partisan issue.
We've got about 15 seconds. Same question to you. Realistically, what can you get?
I think, I say this every year, I think the biggest thing they could give us this year is nothing else. And I mean that sincerely. If we could get the same amount of building renewal funding we got last year and inflation increases in funding, and take a pause on the innovation and let districts do what they need to do with students, we'd be all set.
All right, and we need to say goodbye. Chris Cotter and Marisol Garcia, good conversation. Good to have you both here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's it for now. I'm Ted Simons. Thank you so much for joining us. You have a great evening.
Coming up tonight at 7. At 7:30. At 8.
Arizona PBS deeply appreciates every gift we receive, and we are proud to honor our Executive Society. These supporters believe in the mission of public television and are making a real impact in our community. If you would like to join the Executive Society, please call the number below or log on to azpbs.org to join. Thank you.
My people in the buffalo have a shared history together.
The buffalo was sacred, and they could not imagine existence without the buffalo.
They were put on this earth to help us survive.